Camera's way off here. According to this. Just doing a sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Ready to go. Good day, everybody. Welcome to Agri-Fresh Facebook Live session. Today, we're going to be talking a bit about doing a bit of Agri-Fresh overview, photos, qualifications, settlement funds, IELTS test, and the journey, what it looks like a bit to come into Canada with Agri-Fresh. And then first, we just want to kind of give you a little example of one of the guys I hired a few years back in 2019. Demir. Demir is an owner-operator with us currently. Started as a company driver when he came over to Agri-Fresh. His journey was always to become an owner-operator, and so he's still with us, running up and down the road with his new Volvo there, and happier than ever. So just a typical rounder, just a few pictures here to share what it looks like on our journeys. So there's a few pictures laid out. I'm not sure where they all are, but just gives you a little bit of an overview of what it looks like to run for Agri-Fresh up and down California, Arizona, Texas, and back. Okay, so a little bit of the program details here. So qualifications, minimum of 3 years, long haul articulated experience we're looking for, between the ages of 21 and 50. No strong family ties outside of Manitoba. So hopefully all your relatives that do live in Canada are in Manitoba. And about IELTS test done within the last 2 years with a minimum 5.0 overall. Settlement funds of 15,000 to 20,000 Canadian is what we're looking for that. Just a little bit on the settlement funds, the 15 to 20,000 dollars Canadian. There's IRCC would be looking for $12,960 per applicant, and if you have family, so your spouse would be $3,492, along with any children you have. Also, for the 2 months that you're in Canada while you're training, you'd of course have to have accommodations, rental, car rental, transportation, sorry. Along with that, there's the truck driving school. That one's wrong on there, but it's currently $9,200 to do the truck driving school in Canada. That's a 244-hour training course that takes place just outside of Winnipeg. And the MPNP application, $500, work permit, $155, biometrics, $87, and a medical test as well. So that's just rounding up some of the settlement fund sides of where your money would go. The IELTS test, again, just we're looking for a 5.0 overall. The MPNP for the CLB needs to be 5.0 as well, which is a 5.0 in all categories, listening, reading, writing, speaking. And what we're looking for, to make your application stronger, Agri-Fresh is a 100% refrigerated carrier. So we're looking for people that have been doing refrigerated freight over the years, used to being away from home for at least 2 to 4 weeks at a time. Some snow and ice and mountain experience would be good as well. And currently driving anywhere from 13,000 to 20,000 kilometers a month. And manual transmission or some kind of manual transmission would be good as well for that. So what the journey looks like, Overall, so you would, once you're approved and you've gone through our interview stage, you would be submitted into the MPNP, the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. Once you graduate from there, we would put you, if applicable, depending which country you're from, putting you into IRCC. We would also be doing pre-employment training to get you ready when you come over to Canada. Document and licensing in Canada once you arrive. We would be helping you with that step as well. And then, of course, going into the driver training, 244-hour course for your truck driver's license, which is averaging about a 6.5 week period. Your road test, and actually road test in Agri-Fresh as well, and then Agri-Fresh in-house training. And then off you go, California. So we're open to some questions and answers here. So anybody have any questions, just fire away and I'll see what I can do.
One question here from Benito is asking, well, I get two questions. One is, do you only hire drivers from overseas, or Canadian drivers apply as well?
Oh, we definitely do both, yes. So we're pretty much around 50-50 at that point right now. So 50% Canadian, 50% overseas.
Okay. Now, I assume this question, so again, it's from Benito. I'm assuming he is from outside of Canada, but says, hi, I'm already here in Canada. Am I qualified to apply in your company?
Of course, yeah, for sure. We have also can do LMIA as well. So we do have a few LMIA kicking around. So if you are in Canada and you're from overseas and you're looking to come through that way, you can also give us a call on that side.
Okay. All right. Can you explain a little bit more about the mandatory training program for everyone that's new coming to Canada?
Yeah, so the 244-hour training program is what we would require. And again, that's about 6.5 weeks. You're, depending what country you're coming in from, some licenses are reciprocal to a class 5. That would be, you'd be able to switch your truck license into a car license, but the 244-hour training course is, is required. It's 6.5 weeks long to get your truck driver's license, and $9,200.
Okay. Question from Nick. It says, hello, I'm interested in working with you. I meet all the conditions and they have the necessary savings and necessary experience. He's 46, but doesn't have a high school diploma. Is that a problem?
No, that's not a problem at all. No. It's so the education side with the Manitoba Provincial Nominee, it just gives you more points, which means they would draw your name faster. But yeah, you don't need to have any university education at all.
Okay. Could you explain a little bit more about how the points work and like what items would be covered there? Just in general terms?
In the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have that in front of me right now, but they look for, so your IELTS is definitely a factor there. So you would get points for that. The other one is education, experience, age, and of course that you have the settlement fund side of it as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what they look for on that side.
Okay. So now Agri-Fresh wouldn't have an age requirement for hiring, but is there an age requirement for the provincial nominee program?
There is, yeah. So and over 50 or over is where they kind of stop. So you, anything 50 and under, you still have a chance if we can get you through before you turn 51.
Okay. All right. Actually, Anthony here says this person's actually traveling to Canada on Monday, and they're wondering if they're in the area, if they're able to come and visit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just send us, give us a call. Make sure you set it up ahead of time, just so we know you're coming and we can be around. But yeah, for sure.
Okay. And actually, this relates is he mentions about Toronto as well. Then you mentioned just in passing about family elsewhere in Canada. So could you speak a little bit more about that and the requirements? Manitoba's government wants to have people at Manitoba? Maybe you could just explain a bit more on that.
So the MPNP is funded by the federal government. So their goal is always to bring people into Manitoba that they know are going to settle and stay in Manitoba. It does affect their program if you move outside of Manitoba after coming into Canada. So basically, if you have family outside of Manitoba, it shows a little bit of a risk that you may move away from Manitoba later in the process. So that's basically why they look for that. It can still work. It just depends. It would matter what your points are in the system, how strong of an applicant you are with them. They might overlook some of that, but yeah, it's basically what they're looking for and why they look for that too.
Okay. All right. There's also a question here from Thigo, and he's asking about how does the pay work for a typical driver? And I know that's a complicated question, but in terms of just overall earning, opportunity, what could a driver expect, in a full year working in Agri-Fresh?
I guess it's a good thing I brought this with me then. I mean, I do run through it all, and it's not something really we should go too far into here, but basically on the first year of driving, you would probably be sitting somewheres around 66,000 for the first year. Second year, probably about 73,000. Year two, 75,000, and then it goes up a little bit from there, 80,000 area. The average guy would be around 73 for the most part. And again, it just depends how much you're home and how much you're on the road and how well you do your job. Yeah, but that's a quick rundown of it. But
Okay.
we do go very much into detail with that in the interview stage. So
Okay. So, and basically, the longer someone's working with Agri-Fresh, their pay will continue to increase as well.
for sure, yeah.
Okay. All right. What sort of equipment do you use here? Like what types of tractors does Agri-Fresh use?
So yeah, so it's all a whole fleet of Kenworth T660 and 680. Normally, when you first come out, you'll start with a little bit of an older truck, not too much older, but just it's a manual transmission, studio sleepers. All the trucks have fridges in them. They all have power like a house, and of course stuff to keep you warm while you're in the winter. And yeah, so it's a whole fleet of Kenworth. Yeah, and I don't think we'll branch away from that anytime soon. But
Okay. All right. And you mentioned it just quickly in passing as well. What are some of the different states or areas that a driver could expect to drive to and from with Agri-Fresh?
yeah, so with us, we run basically just if you cut the U.S. in half, we pretty much run the whole west side of the U.S. California, Arizona, Texas, Washington, Oregon, and then back into the prairie provinces for the most part. So Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, a little bit of BC, not a whole lot, but just a little bit in there. And that's pretty much the areas that we stick to in our core lanes.
Okay. All right. Just looking for some other questions here. I've covered a lot so far, Randy. What are some other common questions that you would be getting during the interview process that maybe we haven't covered so far?
Common questions I would get in the interview process. Well, the interview process is quite long.
Yeah, that's
So,
a great topic actually. If you
Yeah, I
could
guess,
explain
yeah. So basically, once you apply on Agri-Fresh, you would need to go onto the website, apply. That would come through into your very first meeting, which is called the assessment meeting. The assessment meeting just basically sees if it's a good fit for yourself, Agri-Fresh, and if you're a good fit for Agri-Fresh. If everything looks kind of good and the MPNP lines up, we would put you into the next stage, which is called the Fresh Fit 1 meeting. Fresh Fit 1 meeting is all about you, your experience, your background, your history, family situation. And then from there, we go into the Fresh Fit 2 meeting, which is all about money, which everybody wants to know about, in a great detail, as in the settlement fund side to it, more detail into where your money would go with a budget planner given to you. We would go into all the money that you're currently making, what you're currently spending at home right now, and what that would look like in Canada for yourself. And then, of course, the compensation side of it in Agri-Fresh and what that looks like and what your pay looks like compared to what you're currently making. And then the last two meetings, healthy profit meetings, are basically just getting all the documents together, talking about some timelines associated to everything, and of course, getting you approved within the company. So,
Okay, great. Questions are coming in fast and furious now.
all right.
Okay, so we have a question from Marcelo. He is from Berlin. How does it work to make a European truck license in Canada, be a Canadian truck license? What are the costs and how do you, what's the process? I know we've talked about that briefly, but maybe you could explain that a little bit more.
Well, so I mean, it's just from Berlin again. It's you would need to start your process of driving all over again, unfortunately. So when you come to Canada, you would be starting with a Class 5 car license. Basically, we kind of average about 3 weeks there. It takes to get your license, the knowledge testing. From there, you move into the knowledge testing of the Class 1 and air brake. Once you kind of get through those two tests, then you end up going to the driving school, which again is 244 hours of training, 6.5 weeks long. That includes 2 road tests. So should you fail the first one, you have a second one ready for you. And then, yeah, from there you would have the Class 1 license. And if you need a US visa, would be one step after that. You would have to go to Calgary to get the US B1, B2 visa, and then into Agri-Fresh for in-house training. Hope that answered that.
No, that's really good. And in simple terms, what are a couple of the key requirements again that, so someone coming from Germany, for example, what would be the main things that we would look for?
As an Agri-Fresh,
Yeah.
well, again, like we kind of look for, I mean, 3+ years experience of long haul articulated. I understand it's much different in overseas. We're looking somewhere, if you're averaging around at least that, I would say at least 10 to 20,000 kilometers a month kind of thing. Used to being away from home for extended periods of time with minimal time back home. Yeah, of course, refrigerated freight would be a good asset as well, being that you know how to work with refrigerated, fresh, perishable foods as well. Yeah, mountain experience, winter driving, snow, ice. Yeah.
Very good. Great. Thank you. How many hours per week does someone work on average?
Hours per week.
Because that would be different than Europe, of course, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a complicated or lengthy thing to get into, but I mean, basically you'll be running about 1,000 kilometers per day, give or take. So they're averaging about 10 hours a day, so I would say about, 60 hours a week, 60 to 70 hours in a 7-day week. And you have rest, of course, every day. But yeah, that's kind of what the drivers are averaging per day.
Okay. And then there would be a certain hours of service that they would need to stay within anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we would go through that in the interview stage as well.
Okay.
It's a little more detailed there, but yeah.
This is a very specific question from Marcelo again. Is it a problem when he already used to live and work in Ontario in 2010 and 11? So I'm assuming he worked in Canada for those 2 years and moved back. I'm assuming he's from Europe. If he wanted to come back to Canada.
I don't really know. I would think they do have a question about a previous experience outside of Manitoba. It would really depend if he came in on the LMIA program on a work permit, or if he tried to go through the provincial nominee program in Ontario, or the PNP program in Ontario. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay, so does the applicant shoulder all expenses when applying? So we've touched a little bit about how much money is needed, and that's for training and so on. But I guess does Agri-Fresh contribute to the process as well? Maybe just if you could explain.
We do some stuff here, but I mean it's it is a lot of the money that Agri-Fresh would cover would be once you arrive to Canada, we would pay for the applicant's flight into Canada. And of course, all the immigration processes along the way, we do help with all that, but not in a fun side, but we do help guide you through everything. So there's not a whole lot of cost as in coming into Canada. I think it's there's a $500 application fee for the MPNP. Again, like the biometrics, medical, stuff like that, but there's not a lot of expenses until you arrive in Canada. And those expenses in Canada would be something you would need to pay for. And again, that's just, the 2 months that you're here, you need to support yourself and have transportation to get back and forth to training. Um, and yeah, and then of course the driving school and your licensing process. So those would be your more expensive items once you get in. But we do, in the interview stage, we do walk through all that with you, every penny you're going to spend. We send you out a budget planner to work with that and to see where all your money's going. So that's, yeah.
Okay. Actually, there's a question from Peter, very similar. He's from Poland. And it sounds like you may have just answered it while this question came in, but you're really helping the drivers a lot to help them get their visas and work permits and get settled, because there's a lot of paperwork, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's yeah, we do help through all that. I think you'd find it very, very easy actually. Most applicants say it's a very smooth process because we do walk you through step by step. We let you know what's coming up next, what to prepare for next, what to do next. So it's a very smooth process actually coming in.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. All right. I think that we're probably getting through most of the comments here. Just looking for a couple others. All right. Let's check one more spot here. Actually, just while we're looking at the last questions here, do you want to just explain a little bit about yourself and your role, like how long you've been with Agri-Fresh and what you do here for drivers?
Sure. Okay. I mean, yeah, I've been with Agri-Fresh for just about 20 years, I believe now. So I was a driver. I started as a driver here. I drove myself for over 20 years and then came into Agri-Fresh. I transitioned from a company driver to owner operator and then into the company. I did everything from dispatch to, right up into the driver sales side, which I've been kind of at since 2014, I believe. Been to Europe 4 times, 3 to 4 times out to Europe in recruiting missions with immigration. Yeah, and so just kind of stuck in now. So my official title would be business development manager here. Yeah.
Great, thanks. A couple other quick questions here. How long does someone need to work in Canada before they can apply for their permanent residency? And that's from Eve on YouTube.
So on the MPNP, of course, it's stronger if you apply once you've had a job for 6 months with a Canadian employer. So, and then now that's more for the LMIA side. The MPNP, you're welcome to apply as soon as you come in. You'd want to get that off and ready and out the door, but it is an expense for you. Usually it's depending how many people are in your family. So you have a couple $1,000s there that you need to put out. So usually most guys wait till they've been driving for a couple months just to get up the money and then apply for PR at that point. So,
but it typically would normally be around 2 years though, wouldn't it? Or they can do it sooner than that?
Oh no, they can do this when they come in. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no. 2 years is what we're going to look for you from you. So for everything that we put into it as well, like the process, we are looking for a minimum of 2 years. The contracts are all 2 years as well. Of course, we'd want to see you around here for 5 to 10 years, but yes, 2 years is good.
Okay. All right. Another question: how does time work off when working with Agri-Fresh? So, for example, could someone spend time in Vegas or California and have some time off while they're on a router?
Yeah, I think like the unique thing and some of the customers that we haul for and the lanes that we run, You know, it is possible to work with your team to have 3 or 4 days off, say in Las Vegas or California. It is something you'd want to kind of plan ahead with them. But some of the loads going southbound, we have a little more time to deliver. And so we can put you on a load that, you know, you can have some time down in Las Vegas if you want. But yeah, you just need to correspond with the team ahead of time, let them know. But yeah, it's always possible.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, well, how about we start wrapping things up? If someone were, feels that they are qualified and they would like to apply and start the process, what should they do?
Yeah, so the process, the first thing to do, just go to the website at Agri-Fresh, agrifresh.ca. On there, you will want to go to the driver section and look for, I think it's international driver, but you would be looking for that, either Canadian or international. And once you select on there, it'll ask you a handful of questions, very important questions that we need, some of your contact information as well. And then if you meet the qualifications there, we would reach out to you through email, requesting to do an assessment meeting. So, yeah.
Okay,
That's much it.
wrap.
Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you soon.